Virtual reality is something that I'm very passionate about, and I've been involved with much longer than I've been into audio. And at the recent Meta Connect 2024, Meta announced the new Meta Quest 3S, a headset that is getting a lot of attention for its low price, and also just for being a new headset option in the VR space. But the name has caused quite a bit of confusion for those who haven't been following the leaks of the Meta Quest 3S throughout the last year. So I just wanted to help clear some things up, and maybe help you decide which version is right for you. Now, this is not a review or a hands-on experience with this particular headset, but I have owned and reviewed most mainstream VR headsets over the years, just not on this channel. So I do feel that I at least can give a little bit of information on this matter. So first of all, many know about the Quest 2, which went on to become the best-selling VR headset of all time, and introduced many to VR for the first time. It's still very popular today, but we are now reaching a point where some games and apps are coming out which only support the Quest 3 platform. One reason for that is because the Quest 3 is just more powerful and is able to render more detailed games, but as well, more new content is coming out that makes use of the full color pass-through capabilities of the Quest 3. The Quest 2 doesn't have full color pass-through, and even the pass-through that it does have is quite grainy and not practical for mixed reality applications. Pass-through and mixed reality is one of those things that many felt would be a gimmick, but over time it seems to be a standout feature for games or even entertainment use or productivity. With the Quest 3, when you first put it on, you aren't set into a virtual world. Instead, you're in your own room with a menu floating in front of you. And from friends and family who haven't been following the progression of VR as much as I have, when they try it for the first time, that alone is enough to sell them on the Quest 3, where my other VR headsets haven't been able to do that up to that point. So Meta just announced the new Quest 3S, which from the name you would assume that it's an upgraded version of the Quest 3, but in truth it's more like a Quest 3 Lite, a Quest 3E, maybe the S stands for somewhat? I'm not so sure what they were going on with the name, but to be clear, this is a new entry-level VR headset from Meta, and I think that they made all the right changes to cut the cost of the Quest 3 and potentially make this one of the best selling VR headsets out there. Now, first of all, with the price. The full Quest 3 came in two storage versions, a 128GB model that costs $499 and a 512GB model that costs $649. These are much more expensive than the previous Quest 2, which launched at $299 for the base model. Even so, the Quest 3 was reportedly sold very close to cost since some of its new features like pancake lenses and new dual screens, among other new additions, added a lot to the cost of the new headset. So how would Meta bring that price back down to what it was when the Quest 2 was king? By incorporating a lot of Quest 2 parts with the performance and features of the Quest 3. The Quest 3S uses the single panel LCD screen and Fresnel lenses from the Quest 2. But the upgraded XR2 Gen 2 chip, full color pass-through cameras, and the new Touch Plus controllers from the Quest 3, which together all bring the price back down to $299 for the 128GB model, $399 for the 256GB model, and the full Quest 3 512GB model has been reduced to $499 to make the whole lineup simple $100 increments. The normal base 128GB Quest 3 has been discontinued. So with that in mind, what does this all mean? How much different is the Quest 3S from the Quest 3 really? Well, they both support all the same software, games, and now have equal performance, but the Quest 3S is using last-gen lenses and screen technology, which to be fair, still isn't bad by any means. The Quest 3S is using Fresnel lenses, so the lenses have little rings in them to help redirect and focus the light while remaining thin. The downside to these lenses though, is that when you look toward the edge of the lenses, things don't stay perfectly clear and instead can get a bit blurry. The other downside to these lenses is they tend to get glare and God rays in high contrast scenes. If you wear glasses, think of how light streaks when they are a bit smudged. The normal Quest 3 uses pancake lenses which are perfectly clear from edge to edge and also don't have God rays or much glare in high contrast scenes. They are more expensive though, and the other downside of pancake lenses is they aren't very efficient. They absorb about 90% of the light that passes through them, which means that the screens that are used have to be very bright to compensate for that. With the Fresnel lenses of the Quest 3S, they don't absorb much light, so the LCD panel doesn't need to be as bright and also doesn't need to use up as much battery. For the screen itself, the Quest 3S does use the same single panel LCD as the Quest 2, but that doesn't mean that the graphics will be the same as the Quest 2. The Quest 2 was a lot more limited in power, so standalone games had to be cut back in their graphics. As well, the screen often wasn't running at its full resolution. The Quest 3S is not only able to render games in the higher graphics mode of the Quest 3, but it's also able to use the full resolution of the panel, making for a sharper experience overall. Other than this, the two headsets are nearly identical in performance in games. Both are able to connect to the computer to play Steam VR games, both have full color pass-through and accurate hand tracking, and both are able to use a stable version of Horizon OS, which is now being opened up to more developers to make fully immersive VR apps, mixed reality apps, or even 2D Android apps. Other differences in the headsets to cut costs are more in terms of its build and form factor. The Quest 3 lets you tap on the side of the headset to instantly switch between immersive and pass-through modes, whereas the Quest 3S has a dedicated button that you press to switch the modes. The Quest 3 has a headphone jack, and the Quest 3S doesn't. The Quest 3 has 2 panels that can move with the lenses to adjust to your eyes with a scroll wheel. The Quest 3S has a single LCD panel, and the lenses have 3 fixed positions that you can adjust for your IPD or your eye width. The Quest 3 has a wide field of view very close to my valve index at about 110 degrees. The Quest 3S is the same as the Quest 2 at around 98 degrees. There's also just the size difference of the headsets. The Quest 3 is thinner due to how close the pancake lenses can be to the panel, and the Quest 3S is about the same size as the Quest 2 with lenses that need to be a little bit further away from the panel to get a proper focus. All in all, the new Quest 3S seems like it will be the best entry into VR and mixed reality, combining the upgraded performance and features of the Quest 3 with the more budget-friendly form factor of the Quest 2. And I really do think that this is a great decision for Meta to further grow the VR market.